No, that is a thing.
Julie McDonald.
Absent excused.
Thank you. Hannah Bazinet.
Here.
Jim C.
Here.
Millie Schoonover.
Here.
Michael Kempnich.
Here.
Chanel McKinley.
Yet to arrive.
Timothy O'Connor.
Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum.
Okay. We will proceed. Certification of elections. Chief election judge recommendations on question ballots. Look at those.
Yes, Mayor. Start with question. Okay. We have 4 question ballots and 1 representative ballot, Mr. Mayor. In my memo, on the second page, there were 4 question absentee ballots that were cast. 2 of the question voters, question ballots 1 and 2, were not city residents, and 2 of the question voters, question ballots 3 and 4, were Port St. Nicholas residents that all 4 had moved into the Craig City limits but did not change their voter registration within the 30-day deadline period for municipal election voting, according to the State of Alaska Division of Elections. And these ballots are not eligible and should not be counted. So I put a first recommended motion to declare the 4 question absentee ballots 1, 2, 3, and 4 to be ineligible for the 2021 municipal election according to the city municipal election code.
Okay. Council have any questions on that? How do we go about that? Just
Motion to accept the election judge's recommendation as to the question ballot. Mr. Mayor.
So moved.
Second.
motion has been made and seconded to accept the recommended motion on the question for absentee ballots 1, 2, 3, 4. Any discussion on that? Council? All in favor of accepting that motion? Say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, we'll pass that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And then the second recommended motion on the second page of my memo is after the question ballots are declared eligible or ineligible, the staff will open all eligible question, special needs, and absentee ballots and tally the results. After the final tally of question, absentee, and special needs ballots, we would move to certify the election. That's the second motion.
Yes, yeah.
That's exactly right. I would recommend that the council sit at ease while we go through the ballots and keep them open and ready for counting.
Okay. Council at ease.
If you insist.
And these should be here.
That's not
I think they're trying to cover it up with some kind of cleaning soap, but mixed with it.
finished opening the envelopes for the ballot.
Okay,
And we are ready to tally when you are.
ready to tally. All right, I'll ask Hans to be quiet then.
Ready?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead on.
Mayor Timothy O'Connor. City Council seat C, James C. City Council seat D. Write-in.
Do we put writing on here? Oh, I see it. Never
Yeah,
mind.
just do a
Got it.
hash mark, don't put a name.
Okay.
Okay. School board 3-year is write-in. School board 1 year, Jeremy Cruz.
Okay, so. Right.
Ready?
Yep.
Mayor Timothy O'Connor. City Council member seat C, James C. There's nothing for seat D. There's nothing for school board 3-year. And for school board 1 year, it's Jeremy Cruz. Mayor Timothy O'Connor. City Council seat C, James C. City Council seat D, Trampus Conitzer. School board 3-year, Joel Steenstra. School board 1 year, Patricia Conitzer. Mayor Timothy O'Connor. Council member seat C, James C. Nothing for seat D. School board, nothing for school board 3-year. And then for school board 1 year, it's Patricia Conitzer. Mayor Timothy O'Connor.
Check.
City Council.
Check.
Oh,
Check.
did you get a mark? Okay. City Council member seat C was James C. Did everyone get that?
Check.
Check.
Okay. And then City Council seat D, Hannah Bazinet. School board 3-year is Joel Steenstra. School board 1 year, Patricia Conitzer. Mayor Timothy O'Connor. City Council member seat C, James C. City Council member seat D, 3-year is Travis Conitzer. School board 3-year, Joel Steenstra. School board member 1 year, Patricia Conitzer. Mayor Timothy O'Connor. City Council member seat C, James C. City Council member seat D, Hannah Bazinet. School board 3-year, Joel Steenstra. School board 1 year, Jeremy Cruz. Mayor Timothy O'Connor. City Council seat C is a write-in. City Council seat D, Trampus Conitzer. School board member 3-year, Joel Steenstra.
Check.
Check.
School board member 1 year is Patricia Conitzer.
Check.
Check.
Mayor Timothy O'Connor. City Council member seat C is James C. City Council member seat D is Hannah Bazinet. School board for 3 year is Joel Steenstra. School board member 1 year, Patricia Conitzer. Mayor Timothy O'Connor.
Check.
City council member seat C, James C. City council member seat D, Hannah Bezanet. Nothing for the school board 1 year, or 3 year, pardon me. School board member 1 year is Patricia Conitzer. Mayor Shondell Pyburn. City council member seat C, James C.
Check.
City council member seat D, 3 year is Hannah Bezanet.
Check.
School board member 3 year term is Joel Steenstra. School board member 1 year is Patricia Conitzer. Mayor Timothy O'Connor. City council member seat C, James C. City council member seat D for Hannah Bezanet. School board member 3 year, Joel Steenstra. School board member 1 year is a write-in. Mayor Timothy O'Connor. City council member seat C is a write-in. City council member seat D is Hannah Bezanet. School board 3 year term is a write-in. School board 1 year, Patricia Conitzer. Mayor Shondell Pyburn. City council member seat C is a write-in. City council member seat D is Hannah Bezanet. School board member 3 year is Joel Steenstra. School board member 1 year is Patricia Conitzer.
Check.
Mayor Timothy O'Connor. City council member seat C is a write-in. City council member seat D is Hannah Bezanet. School board member 3 year is Joel Steenstra.
Check.
School board member 1 year is a write-in. Mayor Timothy O'Connor. City council member seat C, James C. City council member seat D, Hannah Bezanet.
Check.
School board member Joel Steenstra. School board member for 1 year term is Patricia Conitzer. Mayor Shondell Pyburn. City council seat C, 3 year term is a write-in.
Check.
City council member seat D, 3 year term, Hannah Bezanet. School board member 3 year is a write-in. School board for 1 year is a write-in. Mayor Shondell Pyburn. City council seat C is a write-in. City council seat D is Hannah Bezanet. School board member 3 year is a write-in. And school board 1 year is a write-in. Mayor Shondell Pyburn.
Check.
City council member seat C is a write-in. City council seat D is Hannah Bezanet. School board member 3 year is a write-in.
Check.
And school board member 1 year is Jeremy Cruz. Mayor is Timothy O'Connor.
Check.
Check.
City Council Member C is James C. City Council Member Seat D is Hannah Bessonet. School Board Member 3-year is Joel Steenstra. And there's nothing for the 1 year. Mayor Timothy O'Connor. Nothing for seat C, City Council, 3-year. City Council Member Seat D is Trampus Conitzer. Nothing for the School Board 3-year term, and nothing for the School Board 1-year term. Mayor Timothy O'Connor. City Council Member Seat C is James C. City Council Member Seat D is Trampus Conitzer.
Check.
School Board Member 3-year term is a write-in. And School Board Member 1-year term is Patricia Conitzer. Mayor is Shondell Pyburn. City Council Member Seat C is James C. City,
Check.
Check.
City Council Member Seat D is nothing. School Board Member 3-year term is a write-in. School Board Member 1 year is a write-in.
Check.
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 Mayor is Shondell Pyburn. City Council Member Seat C is James C. City Council Member Seat D is Hannah Bessonet.
Check.
Check.
School Board Member 3-year has nothing. School Board Member 1-year term has nothing. Mayor is Shondell Pyburn. City Council Member Seat C is James C. City Council Member Seat D is Hannah Bessonet. School Board Member 3-year term has nothing. School Board Member 1-year term has Patricia Conitzer. Mayor is Timothy O'Connor. City Council Member Seat C is James C. City Council Member Seat D is Trampus Conitzer. School Board Member 3-year term has nothing. School Board Member 1 year has Patricia Conitzer. Mayor is Timothy O'Connor. City Council Member Seat C is James C. City Council Member Seat D is Trampus Conitzer. School Board Member 3-year is Joel Steenstra. School Board Member 1 year is Patricia Conitzer.
Check.
Check.
Mayor is Timothy O'Connor.
Check.
City Council Member C is James C.
Check.
Check.
City Council Member Seat D is Hannah Bessonet. School Board Member 3-year term is Joel Steenstra. School Board Member 1 year is Patricia Conitzer. Mayor is Timothy O'Connor. City Council Member Seat C is James C. City Council Member Seat D is Trampus Conitzer. School Board Member 3-year is Joel Steenstra.
Check.
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 School Board Member 1 year term is Patricia Conitzer. Mayor is Timothy O'Connor. City Council Member Seat C is James C. City Council Member Seat D is Trampus Conitzer. School Board Member 3-year term is Joel Steenstra. School Board Member 1 year term is Patricia Conitzer. Mayor is Timothy O'Connor. City Council Member Seat C is James C. City Council Member Seat D is Hannah Bessonet. School Board Member 3-year term is Joel Steenstra. School board member 1 year is Patricia Conitzer. Mayor is Shondell Pyburn. City council member seat C, James C. City council member seat D, 3-year term, Hannah Bazinet. School board members 3 year and 1 year are both blank. Mayor is Shondell Pyburn.
Check.
In the seat C, seat D, school board member 3 year and school board member 1 year are all blank. Mayor is Timothy O'Connor. City council member seat C is blank. City council member seat D is Trampus Conitzer. Excuse me. School board member 3 year and school board member 1 year term are both blank. Mayor Timothy O'Connor.
Check.
Check.
City council member seat C is James C.
Check.
City council member seat D is Hannah Bazinet.
Check.
Check.
School board member 3 year and 1 year terms are blank. Mayor is Shondell Pyburn. City council member seat C is James C. City council member seat D is Trampus Conitzer, I'm sorry. School board member 3 year is Joel Steenstra. School board member 1 year is Jeremy Cruz.
Check.
Mayor is Timothy O'Connor. City council member seat C is a write-in. City council member seat D is Hannah Bazinet. School board member 3 year term is a write-in. School board member 1 year term is Patricia Conitzer.
Check.
Check.
Mayor is Shondell Pyburn. City council member seat C is James C. City council member seat D is Trampus Conitzer. School board member 3 year term is Joel Steenstra. School board member 1 year term is Patricia Conitzer. Mayor is Timothy O'Connor. City council member seat C 3 year term is James C. City council member seat D is Trampus Conitzer. School board member 3 year term is Joel Steenstra.
Check.
School board member 1 year term is Patricia Conitzer. Mayor is Timothy O'Connor. City council member seat C is James C. City council member seat D is Trampus Conitzer. School member 3 year term is Joel Steenstra. School board member 1 year term is Patricia Conitzer. Mayor is Timothy O'Connor. City council member seat C is a write-in. City council member seat D is Trampus Conitzer.
Check.
School board members 3 year and 1 year terms are blank. Mayor is Shondell Pyburn. City council member seat C is a write-in.
Check.
Check.
City council member seat D is Hannah Bazinet. School board members 3 year and 1 year terms are blank. Mayor is Shondell Pyburn. City council member seat C is James C.
Check.
City council member seat D 3 year term is Trampus Conitzer. School board member 3 year term is Joel Steenstra. School board member 1 year term is Patricia Conitzer. Mayor Shondell Pyburn.
Check.
Check.
James C is city council member C. City council member D is Hannah Bazinet. School board member 3 year term is a write-in. School board member 1-year term is a write-in. Mayor is Shondell Pyburn. City council member seat C is blank. City council member seat D is Hannah Bezanet. School board member 3-year term is blank. School board member 1-year term is Jeremy Cruz. Mayor is Shondell Pyburn. City council member seat C is a write-in. City council member seat D is Hannah Bezanet.
Check.
School board member 3-year term is a write-in.
Check.
School board member 1 year is Jeremy Cruz.
John Ryan.
Sorry, y'all. City council member seat D is Hannah Bezanet. School board member 3-year term and 1-year terms are blank.
Oh, hang on,
Hold on.
an error over here.
The phone rang. We just. Okay, I'm good.
Mayor is Timothy O'Connor.
Check.
City council member seat C is James C. City council member seat D is Hannah Bezanet. School board members 3-year and 1-year terms are blank. Mayor is Timothy O'Connor. City council member seat C is James C. City council member seat D is Trampus Conither. School board member 3-year term is Joel Steenstra. School board member 1-year term is Patricia Conither.
Check.
Mayor is Shondell Pyburn. City council member seat C is blank. City council member seat D is Hannah Bezanet. School board member 3-year term is blank. School board member 1-year term is blank. Mayor is blank. City council member seat C is a write-in. City council member seat D 3-year term, school board member 3-year term, and school board member 1-year term are blank. Mayor is Timothy O'Connor. City council member seat C is James C.
I got a check. Did you get a check?
I have 4.
F4.
Oh, I know, because that one ballot threw me off.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay,
Are you set?
I'm good.
Okay. City council member seat D, school board member 3-year term, school board member 1-year term are blank. Mayor, Shondell Pyburn. City council member seat C is a write-in. City council member seat D is Hannah Bezanet. School board members 3-year term and 1-year term are both blank. Mayor Shondell Pyburn.
Check.
City council seat C is a write-in. City council seat D is Hannah Bezanet.
Check.
School board members 3-year and 1-year terms are blank. Mayor is Timothy O'Connor. City council member seat C is James C.
Check.
City council member seat D is Hannah Bezanet. School board member 3-year term is Joel Steenstra. School board member 1-year term is Patricia Conitzer. Mayor is Timothy O'Connor. City council member seat C is James C. City council member seat D is Trampus Conitzer. School board member 3-year term is blank. School board member 1-year term is Patricia Conitzer. Mayor is Shondell Piper. City Council Member seat C, 3-year term is James C. City Council Member seat D is blank. School Board Member 3-year term is Joel Steenstra.
Check.
School Board Member 1-year term is Jeremy Cruz. Mayor is Timothy O'Connor.
Check.
City Council Member seat C is James C. City Council Member seat D is blank. School Board Member 3-year term is blank. And School Board Member 1-year term is blank. And the final vote is Mayor Timothy O'Connor. City Council seat C is James C. City Council Member seat D is Hannah Bezanet. School Board Member 3-year term is Joel Steenstra. And School Board Member 1-year term is Jeremy Cruz. And that concludes the vote.
What's that?
The guidance was approved in August 26, it should be 26.
Real quick. Visitors, if you would sign in on the sign-in sheet there next to Chief Ely, I'd appreciate that.
What's that?
32 right
Right here? Right.
I don't know if I just signed something.
Oh, I only have 3 in my packet. I see. No, I mean,
When I came in, I went, which way did you go?
To
from
sit on
paying?
the-
to sit on the board.
The
Committee.
And 3 citizens, and 3 councilmen.
Okay, but how many people wrote letters?
Yeah, 3.
That's what I was asking. You said 5 or 6, and I'm like, oh, I only have 3 in here.
10.
Here you go.
They didn't want to give you all the letters just in case you didn't make it on.
Mr. Mayor, I've done the math, the arithmetic correctly. Timothy O'Connor, 159 votes, Shondell Piper, 103, James C., 173 votes, Dryden, 74. Hannah Bezanet, 130 votes. Travis Knatzer, 111, with 6 write-ins. Jeremy Cruz, 55. Patricia Knatzer, 143 votes, 32 write-in votes. And then for the 3-year school board seat, John Steenstra with 171 votes, write-ins 52. So at this point, staff would recommend the council adopt staff's recommended motion.
Move to adopt staff's recommended motion.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to accept the staff's recommended motion. Any discussion on this? All in favor of that?
We should,
No,
Mr. Mayor,
roll call vote, yeah.
no, we should say it has not been said in any of the motions to certify the election, and that, I think that's pretty important. That's what we're doing.
Is that what it says in the recommendation?
Yes.
Yes.
And to certify the election?
Move to adopt the staff's recommended motion and to certify the election.
Okay.
Second.
Thank you.
Motion's been made
I mean, I
and
agree
seconded.
to what she said.
Thank you.
Now, is that a roll call vote or no?
I'm not sure. Done.
It can be a voice vote.
Okay. All in favor of accepting his results, signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None opposed?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
Ashley Knock is our chief election judge, and she was going to read off our votes from our election evening. Is that okay?
That's
She's
fine.
on the telephone. Okay.
Okay, Ashley, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I'm sorry, give me just a second, I'm going away from the 4-year-old, because I feel like he's gonna interrupt.
I know what you're going through, I know too at home.
So elections went really smooth, we had a pretty good turnout, we had 207, ballots, voted on, that day. We had the 3 voted by absentees, or, by mail, sorry. We had the 1 vote by representative. We got the 55 absentee and in-person ones that you guys had just gone through. The 3 spoiled ballots, and then the 4 questions ballots that got ruled out, I fully support on. Tracy and I got together today to work on those spreadsheets to make some changes that should make it go a little quicker when it comes to the end of the day for next year. Pretty excited for that. All in all, it was just a good day.
Good, thank you, Ashley, we sure appreciated your help on that.
Absolutely. You guys have a good day.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Ashley.
Bye.
So, Mr. Mayor, just to add to that a little bit, there were 885 registered voters in Craig this year. 270 votes were cast in the 2021 municipal election, putting the turnout at approximately 27.5%, which is an increased voter turnout compared to last year. The absentee in-person voters were higher this year, so that was a good turnout. The past year election history shows that in 2020 we had 212 votes, 2019 had 281, 2018 had 321, 2017 had 303, and 2016 had 126 votes cast, and 2015 had 2006 votes cast. So that's the history trend for that. In the John suggested that I put in as a reminder that the City of Craig's municipal code states that a candidate needs to win the election by having 40% of all votes cast for that seat. This includes votes cast on election day, question ballots, absentee by mail, absentee in person, and absentee by personal representative. Craig is a general law municipality, first-class city. The election of council members, school board members, or mayor is done by the at-large basis. The candidate with the most votes wins the seat. As a reminder, terms for newly elected officials begin on the Monday following certification of the election or at the first council meeting following certification of the election, whichever occurs first. That pretty much covers it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Tracy. Moving on to the consent agenda.
Move to adopt consent agenda.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to adopt the consent agenda. All in favor of that?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, pass. Okay, we're hearing from the public. We're open for public comment. Nothing? Okay. Hearing none, we'll move on to resolution 21-18. That's gonna come up later. We gotta discuss that now, John, or wait till later?
It's really an opportunity for the public to comment on those items, Mr. Mayor, at this point.
Anybody have a comment on that subject? Seeing none? Resolution 21-19, setting the fees for senior citizen sales tax. Any comments? Okay, save that one for later too. Okay. Report from the city administrator.
Did you have anything to report, Mr. Mayor?
What's that?
Did you have anything to report?
I did. ATA is requesting funds again for their litigation to keep the troll fishery alive in southeast Alaska. They've come to the conclusion that it's going to affect all fisheries and net fisheries, as well as the trawlers, and anybody that catches a fish, a salmon, including chartered boats and sport fishermen. So they actually kind of won a case down, or part of the case down there in Seattle. The state of Alaska is involved in this now, as well as NIMS and NOAA. But in order for Alaska Troller Association to stay in the fight, they need more money. And we agreed to give them $5,000, I believe it was last year. And I believe we're gonna have to give them that additional $2,500 at some point here. So council's aware of that. So also, we have a committee to replace our city administrator. I needed some committee input to review the resumes and that. And at this time, I think, what we have, 5 or 6 resumes at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I've chosen the council members. Jim C., Millie, and Julie off of the council. And the citizens that have submitted letters, I only have 3 of them. One of them is Dennis Watson, which I'll accept on that committee. Barb Stanley, correct? And I want her on that committee. And Clinton Cook has submitted a letter, and I'll have him on the committee also to review these resumes and applications and help us come to a decision here. Okay, I think that's about it for me.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, I have a brief staff report in the packet, and I do want to add that the Forest Service would like to consolidate what's called the Resource Advisory Committees. These are the groups that there are 7 right now around Southeast, including one for Prince of Wales Island, whose job it is to make recommendations on how to spend money from the Secure Rural Schools program on projects on Prince of Wales. So the Forest Service would like to consolidate these multiple racks into just 2, one for northern southeast, one for southern southeast. They propose to combine the Prince of Wales rack with one from Ketchikan and the rack that's shared between Wrangell and Petersburg. And we've known this is going to be coming. They've been talking about it for a little while. The new district manager has mentioned it. I see that the efficiency is to be gained by it. There have been problems getting the rack, for various reasons, getting the rack placed. The Prince of Wales rack set in place just for Prince of Wales. So the Forest Service Department of Agriculture has a formal notice now published to where they propose to consolidate the racks. There's pros and cons to it. I would rather just see a Prince of Wales rack, but the fact is, for various reasons, as I've already said, it's hard to constitute it. I don't object necessarily to a combined rack that includes us with Wrangell, Petersburg, and Ketchikan, but I'd like to make sure Prince of Wales interests are protected. And so, in talking with Michael about this a little bit, because Michael and I have both served on the Prince of Wales rack in the last few years, we would like to comment to the Forest Service proposal to combine the racks by making sure each former region's separate interests are protected by the funding. For example, the funding that would have gone to Prince of Wales, we want that funding to go to Prince of Wales, even under consolidated rack. And I'm sure Wrangell Petersburg would like the same consideration as would Ketchikan. So with the council's consent, permission, I'd like to draft a letter expressing these concerns and suggestions to the Forest Service as they go through the formal process of the rack consolidation. And that's an attempt to consolidate kind of a complicated issue in a few words. So if the council has any concerns about that approach, I'd like to hear it. Otherwise, I'll start drafting a letter and get something ready for within the 30-day comment period, which I believe expires on October 30th.
I think that's pretty much what we talked about before, is that if they're going to do it to us, we wanted to make sure that our money stayed with POW. So that's an excellent idea to get it done. Good job.
Thank you.
Money and equal representation
And representation
from the districts.
Yeah.
Well, very important. Also, on the mayor's note, we'll try to notify everybody that's on this committee to hire our new city administrator tomorrow, if possible, and try to set a date, Monday or so, on a date to get together and try to read over some of these resumes, or at least get emails so we can send them to you.
Staff will attempt to set up a meeting for early next week, maybe a couple of meetings
Yeah, that'd be nice.
over the course of the week.
Yeah. I don't know when Julie will be back, but we may have to proceed without her.
I'll make sure she gets the emails, if nothing else.
Yeah.
If she's not here.
And we can get her input, so that'd be great. All right, sorry to interrupt there. Treasurer,
Mr. Mayor, I've submitted a report. I'm happy to answer any questions. It's short, sweet, this time.
okay. Do you have any questions for the treasurer? No? Okay, aquatic manager.
I did not put it in last week. It got away with me, or away from me real fast. Now we're just trying to basically keep our head above water and keep the building open as much as we possibly can with the limited staff that we have. With Chris and Ethan traveling every other weekend for swim meets, it's become a fun little challenge. Lewis will be back next week, so that'll help out a little bit. I do have one applicant. I'm just waiting on him to finish up his online portion. so I can proceed with him. He is young, but he's a body. And, you know, Ethan started out young and it just gives us the ability to train. So, I mean, it's looking up, but we're starting to get into our busy season. The Kirk Schools wants lessons and we're just waiting on a class list so we can start trying to do that. And we want to try to get back open for all of our night open swims and get lessons going for the pool itself, but right now it's just not an option. I mean, if you look across the street, my car pretty much lives in the parking lot. If it's not my car, it's Nilla's car. I mean, I'm there.
Alrighty, thank you. Moving on, city clerk.
Mr. Mayor and council, we just completed a successful election. And the only thing I really have to add is the next Craig City Council meeting, first Thursday of the month, will be, what do I have, October 21st, yes. I put the wrong date in there, sorry. So it'd be October 21st would be our next meeting.
Okay, we'll make a note of that. Thank you.
Thank you.
City planning.
I submitted a written report and I would be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Brian tonight?
Mr. Mayor, I was out of town when you all had the public meetings. Did very many people show up with good comments?
I think we had 8 people sign in the first night and 9 people sign in at the noon meeting the next day. I apologize, I don't remember how many were at the evening meeting on Thursday. It was a pretty good crowd. And then there's probably about another dozen people that dropped in during the open studio hours to visit with the architects as they were going through the process and discussing stuff. A lot of them were overlapped, but there were probably 18 or 20 separate individuals who attended over one of the meetings or dropped in during the open studio.
Great, thank you.
We had some pretty positive input.
Oh, good.
That really helped people out, or the people who were doing the drawings, so we appreciated the comments and the help. Yeah, put a new light on this project.
So I've been at the office all week, but I expect that probably next week the architect will send me, and it's the final revised drawings, so I'll bring those back to the council. I fully expect to bring them back at the October 21st meeting.
Brian, this skipped my attention when I was reviewing it, but I see where you do the roundabout down by Little T's and around, the boardwalk extends like over the street. Is that gonna be cutting off that roundabout now, the one way, or no? Like down by it used to be Trophy Palace.
Right.
And now it's Piers, but it looks like the boardwalk extends over to.
That's, I know exactly what you're talking about. That's a conceptual artist rendering.
Yeah.
I wouldn't
Okay.
take it literally.
So,
All right,
so
I was
there's
like, we're not
still,
cutting off.
yeah, there's kind of still a whole phase to the design, and so this really was just to present some conceptual sketches that people could kind of envision how it looked.
Okay,
When we get to the actual engineering of that part of the project, we'll make sure that things like
One of the draw
that we don't cut off any streets. It's not the intent to cut off Front Street.
right, okay.
Thank you, Brian. Fire and EMS coordinator, you with us, Manny?
I am here. I submitted a report. I'm available for any questions.
Questions for Manny?
Comment, keep up the good work. We appreciate this department.
Thank you. We're trying hard.
Okay, thank you, Manny.
Thank you.
Mr. Harbor Master.
Mr. Mayor, I've submitted a written report, but would be happy to answer any questions anyone might have.
Question, Harbor Master. No, not at this time, thank you. Miss Librarian.
Mr. Mayor, I did not have a chance to submit a written report. I went south to get married and got COVID instead, so that was fun. Things are slow at the library, as they always are when the summer ends. So I have a couple of applications in for our part-time position that I will be scheduling interviews for soon. And I have a couple people who have said that they would be interested in becoming new evening volunteers. So I'm just trying to get back into the swing of things and try to get back to normal as much as possible. I would be happy to answer any questions.
Did you get a husband too, or just COVID?
No, I managed to lock in the husband too. It was just on his parents' front porch instead of our fancy venue that we paid for.
Oh, good job. All righty. Well, thank you, ma'am, for your report.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Jim said
Thank you.
congratulations, yeah, from all of us.
Thank you.
You bet. Police chief.
Submitted a written report. Do you happen to answer any questions?
Any questions for the chief?
I'd like to report a barking dog.
Says he's off duty right now.
He's messing up my recording.
No, it ain't mine. I didn't bring her. Not mine tonight. How's your new officer working out?
So far, it's really well.
Good. He had his hand full the other night keeping traffic off the power lines, so.
Yeah, he's been exposed to quite a bit of interesting stuff already, which is good. I mean, it's part of the job.
Mm-hmm. Well-rounded that way. All right, we'll move on to Public Works. Mr. Russell.
Submitted a written report. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have about that report. We cleared the storm pretty well. Fort St. Nicholas, the time I thought that the landslide was occurring and that thunder hit, but we received 5.42 inches of rain from Friday morning to Sunday morning, the first to the third. I know that there was 150 mile per hour wind at one point, talking about Sunday.
118, 154 was the highest I seen.
Even higher than 115.
And nobody was flying kites up there that night. No. Guarantee it. Yeah, that was interesting. You had a culvert you cleaned out that filled itself right back up.
Yeah, we had equipment staged. We had 210 that was staged at the one of the mills there, and then we also had our backhoe staged at the water treatment plant. We had equipment fueled and ready to go, sitting in the bays. We had chainsaws. We had everything ready to go for any kind of emergency. I think they're ready to responded very well to that situation. We had one crew that was out on the sewer lift station on West Hamilton till about 1:30 in the morning. We did have to call in. Colin Reynolds to pump that lift station out several times to keep it from overflowing. During that power outage, it was an extended power outage, but we did well. And we put precautionary sandbags around the entryways there that you don't guide any overflow if there was. And We did have to open up the bypass on the East Hamilton lift station, but there's nothing you can do about that. That'll all be filed in a report to the state. But West Hamilton's is not overflow at all. We had the one big downed tree there at East Hamilton. That's what caused a big power outage. Very fortunate not to have a major loss of property. Nobody was injured that I'm aware of. So we did fairly well on that.
Fire and EMS were ready to go too. We had boats ready to go in the harbor with the pumper for fire and also stretchers and EMS equipment ready to go on the harbor boat or on a trawler if necessary to respond if you'd had a slide. So just so everybody's aware that happens. Whenever you stage like that, we stage also.
Yep. I think we were about as ready as we could be. Yeah. My biggest concern was any kind of landslide.
Yep. Good. I'm glad we prepped and didn't need them though.
Yep.
John, we did, as a council, we did approve that mile change on the Shawn C going out to the burn pit from 15 to 20 a while ago, did we not? That 15-mile-an-hour sign, we all agreed that we wanted to change it to 20. Russell said nothing has came through his desk about changing that sign.
Speed limit.
Yeah, the speed limit sign.
From this entrance to the 700 block going out,
Mm-hmm.
right, or the final entrance.
Yeah.
Yep, I'll make sure Russell gets the direction.
Okay.
My apologies.
Okay, thank you, Russell. Recreation.
Well, I was on vacation, I'm back, my cancer checkup was good, my eyes are bad, I had a great time, but I didn't get my report in. I did send you a really nice flyer about the Harvest Festival, which will be this Saturday. Got that all set, I've got all my pumpkins here, I've got my chili cook-off, if you guys wanna cook some chili for me. We're gonna have flights of chili for people to taste, it's gonna be all anonymous, I have little blocks I got from Doug and Terry. Everyone gets their own number, it's gonna be great. It's gonna happen, rain or shine, we're gonna have the pumpkins under the covered area, and we're gonna have the chili underneath the eaves. If it's bad, it's Southeast Alaska. The kids are gonna have fun, I'll have a maze set up for them so that they can get to the pumpkins, we're gonna have some hula hoop contest. So if you guys wanna come and shake, anyway, it'll be really a great time. I'm looking forward to it, got lots of good help. And then, we're gonna have a community cleanup the following week. Katrina Peavy is here. Still, she got a job in Anchorage, so she'll be around for another month. She has been doing great things. Thank you, Millie, for being in the film. We have a documentary that she's doing on the history of Craig for the centennial celebration. We had an impromptu barbecue at the Point last night. And I was like, you have to have some bad weather because people will think it's always nice here. So this storm today was all my fault, I apologize. But anyway, it was great. They're talking to Fred Hamilton tomorrow. They talked to Ralph, they talked to Mary Ellen. They got some great documentary footage that she had of old Craig. So it's working out beautifully. Christina Barlow and Karen Heather working on a booklet. Kathy Peavy is working on a resin timeline for the canneries, and I've got this great idea for metal sculptures. I was gonna take metal sculpture this summer, but I broke myself. So that's what's kind of going on. I'm gonna try, depending on how things go, to have some after-school things. I would like to get, do some maybe Halloween movies in the gym, because I can space the kids out. Maybe a little bit of roller skating. I've sort of lost my employer, so I'm looking for someone to work with me part-time. It's a lot of fun. And that's kind of what's going on right now. Any questions? If you talk to me, I won't make you volunteer. It's okay. I will request it.
Are people throwing that much garbage that we have to, is a lot of cleanup getting picked up? Are we having a lot of people littering?
There's a lot of littering, and with all these storms,
Okay.
You know, the dumpsters get knocked over, the
Right.
car goes rolling around all over the place. And then, people's garbage gets knocked over. There's plenty of trash and there's lots to share. We have lots of Valspar bags. I may cancel if it's as cold as it was last time, because I think both Katrina and I had a little bit of hypothermia. So, we're hopeful that we sat out there with our umbrellas and looked ridiculous. It was great fun. So, but that's a good community thing that people can do, and we have a lot of loyal folks that show up and help, so.
I was just wondering if we need to start yelling at some people.
Oh, yeah, you can help me, I like that. Working out great. There you go. So that's my story. Any questions?
Nope,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, parks and public facilities.
Mr. Mayor, council members, I've submitted a written report and would be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Any questions? Sorry about that, Doug.
Oh, no worries.
I've noticed some garbage down there at that Ralph James Park that was in the trash can that is household garbage. Have you noticed that lately?
I've noticed that in all trash cans around the city over my years here in Craig. Sometimes I get brave and tear them open and look for mail or an address, but sometimes I get grossed out.
Yeah, maybe you ought to.
Yeah, that's a constant fight here in the city of Craig.
Have you considered putting a game camera on a couple of those and moving around so?
Yes, if anything is ever identified by those that have the authority to, I would definitely do whatever anybody requested. We could do something like that for sure.
Yeah. No, I would consider game cameras on there and just, like I said, move them around from one place to another until we get some.
Oh, okay, yeah, let's.
Let RJ determine how he's gonna deal with them, so.
The trash police?
Oh, yes, yeah.
Public flogging's okay, or lynching.
Well, I mean, the camera has helped out immensely out at the birthday. I mean, it was a huge problem until, I don't know if it was Russell or Doug that put that up there, but, I mean, after 7 or 8 tickets, I mean, we get maybe 2 a year now.
Yep. That's why I think game cams on these trash cans would maybe,
Well, yeah, if I
eliminate
get
some
a
of the.
photo of somebody, I'd be happy to give them a ticket.
You got that, Doug?
Yes, got it. I will put that on my agenda, my stuff to get looked at.
Alrighty, sir, thank you.
Thank you.
I guess that's everybody. Okay, reading the correspondence, move on to that. Council, got any questions on any of this? Are we going to Alaska Municipal League this year, or is it gonna be a COVID show?
I think their intention is to have it in person.
That's in Anchorage?
It's in Anchorage.
Pretty hot up there.
Yes, it is. Pretty warm. What month is that? Is it November, right?
Middle of November.
Yeah. Water is that for a while, determine whether anybody's gonna go or not.
Just if any council members are interested, simply let staff know, Tracy or I, and we will help make the arrangements for it.
You would want to do that sooner than later now, in order to
I'm
get the
gonna need to go
reservation.
have that mayor's conference up there. I don't know who else needs to go or wants to go, so.
I might be interested in attending again, just because there was a lot of good topics last time, but I will have to see with my schedule and work and stuff.
You gonna send the clerk up?
You're in not this year, sorry.
Yeah.
Next year.
All right, Everybody get a copy of that southeast by the numbers? You did see that? Pretty interesting. Anything else we need to touch on there, John?
Not from my end, no.
No, sure. All right, then I guess we'll move on if nobody has any questions or input. Consideration of resolution and ordinances, resolution 21-18, the transboundary mining activity. You want to speak on that, Mike, at all, or?
Sure. So this was in our reading of correspondence last meeting, and I asked to have it considered as something that our council would adopt. Initially, the version that was sent to us has language about treaties between Canada and the United States to work with each other on keeping our streams, our rivers, all transboundary waterways clean and not to be polluting downstream into other countries, the other country. And they also had some stuff about the UN, and initially there was some concern about that. And when John and I talked about it, we initially concurred that we could remove that language, but the rest of the body of the resolution remains pretty much the same. And since then, I've had a chance to talk with the coordinators for the Salmon State and the transboundary groups, and they have explained to me more clearly the reasoning for having these two, the language that identifies these two authorities basically in there. And I do, after conversation with them, I think that it is important to have them in there. At some point here, I will make a motion to add the original language back in again, but I would like to explain that why. The treaty between Alaska and Canada, between the United States and Canada to maintain our waterways was actually passed and was adopted in 1909. So that's basically 110, 112 years old. We have water in between the United States and Canada. We have rivers that flow both ways. In Western North America, we have many rivers that come from Canada into the United States. In the Eastern United States, we have the St. Lawrence that is, drains the Great Lakes and ends up going all the way through Canada. And so we both have responsibilities to protect the interests of the other country. And for the most part, I think that we take that seriously. And so recognizing that treaty, which has been in effect for basically 110 years, and asking Canada to abide by that, I think is very important. And then the language for the UN resolution, which recognizes, protecting and acknowledging indigenous lands and protecting them as well. That is language and an agreement that British Columbia has agreed to previously. That would acknowledge and protect indigenous waterways, both in British Columbia and Alaska. And British Columbia has adopted that. And so by including that language in there, we're just simply asking them to abide by what they have already agreed to. When you look at, I pay pretty close attention to this. There's many mines on the three major transboundary rivers. And British Columbia is going full steam ahead on trying to permit these, wanting to permit these. And I just feel like this is, it's really taking a big part of our economy for Southeast, our fisheries, and putting them in serious jeopardy. Most of these mines will require tailings ponds and dams. And many of these dams are going to be holding back toxic waste streams that will have to be maintained in perpetuity. When you think about that, perpetuity. And I just feel like it's inappropriate to go with any less language than what Salmon State and the transboundary committees have asked for. They're only asking for Canada and British Columbia to abide what has already been agreed upon. And it's, we're really looking at an issue that will have a huge impact on our future. I think of tailings ponds, it doesn't matter whether it's Pebble or the KSM mine, or, we already have a major leak going on in one of the mines up in the Taku. It's inevitable if we allow this to happen, or if Canada allows it to happen. So I think we need to voice our concern as strong as possible. So I support what the groups are doing. I think for commercial fishermen, sport fishermen, guided sport, personal use, for all of us, it's an incumbent that we weigh in on this and support the effort to protect these waterways to the best of our ability.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we adopt resolution 21-18.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to adopt resolution 21-18. Is there any more discussion on this?
So what I would ask if so the ordinance that's before us actually is not the original language of the ordinance that was presented to us. And so my suggestion, my position is that I would like to see us adopt a resolution with the original language that had been provided by Salmon State and the transboundary group. And I have it right here. They have 3 bullet points at the end. Our resolution as well has 3 bullet points. They're very similar, but the original resolution from Salmon Beyond Borders does reference the 1909 treaty and the United Nations Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, which British Columbia has already agreed to in terms of protecting the waterways. And I would, I would suggest that should be entered back into the body of the final part of our resolution. So can I ask a question on that?
Yeah.
If I would like to, so motion's been made, seconded. If I would like to ask for a friendly amendment, is that the way to go about asking to?
Make a motion to amend it.
Okay, I would like to make a motion, a friendly motion to amend the resolution before us to include the language, the last part, where it says therefore be it resolved part, that is included in the Salmon Beyond Borders reference resolution that was shared with us.
Second.
Why was it removed?
Initially, there was some concern that we were, the language, and I can understand the feeling that, you get into things with the UN and there's a lot of concern quite often that, they're trying to dictate policy for individual countries. The UN language, that's a concern, and I understand that. As well, the language with the waterways of the 1909 agreement between the United States and Canada. We just chose not to reference it initially, but after reviewing it further and talking with the people from Salmon Beyond Borders, Salmon State, I feel like it's appropriate. The way it was explained to me is, these are agreements that are already in place, and we simply are asking Canada to abide by them.
I don't have a problem mentioning the 1909 thing and mentioning that Canada already has agreements with the indigenous people, but I agreed with John when he first said it. I don't think we need to mention the UN in this thing, period. The UN wants to step on everybody's business, and a lot of their business they step on, they don't do it properly. And they let some of the bad players get away with what they get away with, and they're all on the boards that pass these things. I can't agree with the UN part, but mentioning the 1909 thing and mention that, if it isn't already mentioned in here that the BC has an agreement with those indigenous people, I mean, we can mention that, but I don't want the UN part in there, period. That's my feeling on it.
I feel the same way, because that's jeopardizing our sovereignty of the United States as well as the state, and for the UN to get involved in anything is not good. Like I said, they are well known for their way of running things. They don't do well. As far as I'm concerned, we either change that, get rid of the UN portions, or I would not be in favor of anything to do with the UN.
I could make a suggestion on that.
Go ahead.
So the second part that's in question here, the way it reads is, I'll read number 2 completely, and then I'll make my suggestion. Support an immediate temporary halt to permitting exploration, development, and expansion of Canadian mines along the shared Alaska, British Columbia, Salmon Rivers until a binding international agreement on watershed protections developed by all jurisdictions in these shared Trans-Mountain watersheds and consistent with the Boundary Waters Treaty of 1909 and the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples is implemented. And what I would suggest is we could strike the United Nations Declaration and maybe add the wording, I had it in my mind now, it went away. Just simply the word recognition of the rights of the indigenous peoples of these areas.
First Nation and Canadian, and Alaska.
Yeah, I would imagine we could say British Columbia, Canada, and Southeast Alaska, or just if we say the rights of the indigenous peoples of these areas.
I know I've read through this thing several times. Do we already ask them to quit looking? We didn't ask them in this one to quit exploration, did we?
Yes.
We already have?
Let's see.
It's in the title.
Yeah, temporary halt to the exploration, permitting exploration, development, and expansion.
Okay, how about, why does it say international, just because it's between Canada and the US? Or do we want, or does it say international because that's what the UN wants it to say?
I think that the term international is there, it's because it involves two countries, the US and Canada.
That's what I'd say.
A resolution specific to lines along the Alaska, British Columbia Trans-Boundary Salmon Rivers.
Okay.
And the international part is because it's Canada and the US. I think I had taken out some references in the body of the resolution to exploration. But when Michael and I will continue to work on it, he asked me to add it back to the title. That's why exploration is in the title.
That's in the title, but in the, be it further resolved, you don't have exploration specifically mentioned. I don't think. Immediate temporary hold permitting of mines. Developed by all jurisdictions, they share transparency.
Well, like,
This looks like a pretty good resolution. Yes, it is.
by adopting the language that is in the Salmon Borders proposed resolution, it would add back in exploration, and then we could, like, as I suggested, we could change, substitute recognized for United Nations Declaration, just to recognize rights of indigenous peoples. And that's not then you're not referencing the United Nations, but still recognizing, the rights of the indigenous peoples of both of these countries and these watersheds. To expect that the rivers are.
So are you wanting to get rid of his number 3? Because that's basically what it says. To have them deal with community stakeholders, indigenous leaders.
Right. No, I don't want to get rid of it.
Well,
but I'm just looking for a way to phrase the second part without using the United Nations Declaration term. Or you could just simply drop that and just say, and the rights of the indigenous peoples is implemented. And not, you just simply just drop them 3 words. 4 words would be.
Page 3 on the second whereas it mentions the native tribes of Alaska and the First Nations of BC, so that's the indigenous people of the area, which would be our Alaska natives as well as the natives from British Columbia.
Correct.
And I think down further there refers to Idaho, Colorado, or Idaho and Montana. And a couple other states, so you have other tribes there too, but that would cover indigenous people, would cover all of those people, I believe. So I believe the headwaters of the Snake, which is part of the Columbia River system, come up into Montana. That direction there, and even part of the one that comes through Colville there, but to the border is part of Salmon Bear River also in Washington State. So those things look like they've been listed. I just don't like to be, or the UN being listed anywhere in any part of this. That's what you took out, John, originally, the UN portion,
Yes, and the reference to the 1903 treaty, because I hadn't read the treaty, I didn't know what was in it. Michael, did the contact you made with the sponsor, they indicate that they had to have this before the 21st?
They would like it as soon as possible, I know, and they are pushing to have a united, I know there's a number of other groups that are working on, I think, a number of other communities. Some have passed, and there's a number of other communities they're reaching out to and working with now. UFA failed to pass it here a couple weeks ago, but it was because a lot of the membership was out fishing and they didn't have enough people to, pass it. But it's being represented to the UFA for consideration. They expect it to pass.
It's been presented to ATA also, and they expect it to pass too, but not with the UN portion in it.
No, do you have
So,
any?
Mike, for clarification, you already read the first part. Would you read the part where we're taking out the UN part so we can hear what it sounds like? Please?
Okay, it's all one big sentence, so I'll have to read it again, but that's fine. Support an immediate temporary halt to permitting exploration, development, and expansion of Canadian mines along shared Alaska, British Columbia, salmon rivers until a binding international agreement on watershed protections developed by all jurisdictions in these shared transboundary watersheds and consistent with the Boundary Waters Treaty of 1909 and the rights of indigenous peoples is implemented. So I just, that's what it would sound like if we skipped the United Nations part and didn't put anything in there.
That was item 2 of the be further resolved, right?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any other change, Michael?
If we, let's see, make sure we get this correct, and I think that would be it, because on our resolution, we don't have the United Nations language in the title of the resolution. So if we add back the body as presented by Salmon Beyond Borders and just there's about what, four or five words there that I just read off that part, number 2, without the United Nations declaration, then I think it all fits together with our resolution.
What you just read into the record is the change you would like to make.
Correct.
Okay, that makes it simple.
So that's gonna go where number 2 is at?
If it's approved, yes.
We're gonna get rid of what's already in number 2.
Well, what I'm suggesting is that,
Because that one doesn't even talk about the earth and mine tailing dam, so you just did that we're so concerned about.
No, but that's in the other upper parts of the resolution.
That may be, but the bottom part is what people look at the hardest.
Right.
And I agree that those earth and mine tailing dams are the most important part to be in this thing to start with.
In the very third part, the last part of what I'm suggesting would be our the whereas part of our resolution. It does, reference the wet tailings behind earth and dams along these irreplaceable Alaska, British Columbia, transboundary salmon rivers. So it's referenced in number 3. The last 2 lines. A permanent ban on the perpetual storage of contaminated water and wet tailings behind earth and dams along these irreplaceable Alaska, British Columbia, transboundary salmon rivers.
So the amendment before the council, Mr. Mayor, at this point is whether to consider adding the wording that Michael read into the record a few minutes ago.
Okay, and that doesn't include the UN portion, correct?
Wasn't in what Michael read.
But it also strips what's in number 2.
Yes, if you would delete what's in here in number 2 and replace it with what Michael read into the record. If that passes, then 2 would be a further result would be modified. And then you would proceed to vote on the main motion after that.
Okay.
We need to vote on the last amendment.
The amendment first, yeah.
And I do want to clarify, my amendment would, 2 is the main one, but I would like to adopt the language of the Salmon Beyond Borders, 3 bullet points. Because the first one does reference, in theirs it references the United States-Canadian Boundaries Water Treatment Treaty, of 1909. And our resolution, it just simply says authorized, utilize their authority to prevent, resolve disputes over the use of the shared waterways. And I do believe it's important to reference that there's a treaty already in place that says that they should be doing this with us.
So you want to add that portion, number 1, along with change number 2?
Yeah, my friendly amendment would be to utilize all the language of the Salmon Beyond Borders, whereas, except for the United Nations Declaration phrase that I read that part, number 2, without that.
Okay.
So if there's no big rush, I'd like to see this I'd like to see that in writing, what this is gonna do, because this is not flowing tonight. We must be too late or something, because first we're gonna change number 2, now we're gonna add a change to number 1. And
I understand. So it's a decision by the council whether to continue approving it or to defer it until the next meeting. I can see merit to what you're saying.
Yeah, because I'm confused too here. I know where we're at, but I'd like to see it in writing too, more clearly defined, so we can read it.
if it's not gonna be the end of the world, it's gonna be 2 more weeks, but that's, it's already on the floor, so.
I'm ready to vote.
I'm ready to vote too. I mean, it's clear in my mind after Mike read it. But I guess some of us need to visually
Do you
see
know
it.
what the Treaty of 1909 says? Do you have any clue? I don't.
Mike touched on it a little bit.
I mean, I can't say that I've read the treaty.
It's gonna be way more involved than.
But certainly the intent of it is that we have to respect each other's waterways and not be moving downstream into, our neighbors' waterways. That's a very basic definition of it.
When you stop and think about it, it doesn't only, the tailings and everything else, the bad stuff, doesn't only affect our salmon, our seafood. It also affects the land. And I feel that Canada, they already agreed to do this and they're not. And so it's just reminding them that, hey, walk your talk.
This has gotten attention all the way to the presidential level. Our State Department has had consultations with Canada on this. What passing this resolution does, and it isn't just us, there's, communities throughout Southeast and fisheries organizations throughout Southeast. it really shows there's a united voice that we're asking our representation at the federal level to, you know, stand up for the well-being of our waterways, which is our salmon, our land, and, you know, to a big extent, our economy, our lifestyle.
I believe in all of that, but I also understand government's tendency to overreach everything they do. And that's what the concern is, with giving the UN authority or anyone else as far as that goes, without limitations. If they're not limited, then they're gonna overreach whatever you give them. They're gonna take an inch or a mile when they're supposed to take an inch. I'm concerned about things like that, and I believe that's what Jim's concern is.
Well, Mike has the paper in front of him. If you guys looked at the bullet points that he's just trying to add, would that be helpful?
No, we had it last time.
Right, but now just putting it in front of you, the old ways that he wants to write it, and looking at what we have in front of us now might be helpful instead of pushing it till next meeting. And just striking out the UN portion and filling it in.
So we're prepared, as staff, to serve the council either way. We can distribute with the text that Michael has by photocopy to everyone, and you can work on it. Or you can decide to consider it at the meeting on the 21st. So whatever preference you have, we'll follow through with trying to make the decision easier to vote on.
We have two things on the floor right now, though. The first thing is the amendment, and then the second would be whether or not to adopt the resolution as amended. As near as I can tell. So we need to vote on those two things.
Yes.
So we'll first want to settle on the text of the amendment. And it seems like that's difficult at this point to try to articulate.
So read what number 1 would be.
Would you like me to read that? I have okay.
Yes, please.
Utilize their authority under the United States, Canada Boundary Waters Treaty of 1909 to prevent and resolve disputes over the use of shared waters. And number 2, would you like me to read that?
Sure.
Support an immediate temporary halt to permitting exploration, development, and expansion of Canadian mines along shared Alaska, British Columbia, salmon rivers until a binding international agreement on watershed protections developed by all jurisdictions in these shared transboundary watersheds and consistent with the Boundary Waters Treaty of 1909 and the rights of Indigenous peoples is implemented. And 3, convene with local communities, stakeholders, and Indigenous leaders of the Taku, the Stikine, and Unic watersheds to develop the aforementioned binding international agreement on watershed protections. This agreement will identify and honor no-go zones and decisions by local residents and Indigenous people on both sides of the international border, ensure mining companies and shareholders are liable for cleaning up their waste and compensating impacted communities for all damages, and enforce requirements for mining best practices, including a permanent ban on the perpetual storage of contaminated water and wet tailings behind earthen dams along these irreplaceable Alaska, British Columbia transboundary salmon rivers. That's what I'm asking for.
I'm good with that.
Yeah. Okay, let's call for the amendment then. Vote on the amendment. All in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Pardon me.
Voice vote. Sorry,
It'd be roll call.
roll call vote, go ahead.
Hannah Bassinet,
Yes.
Millie Schoonover,
Yes.
Michael Campnich,
Yes.
Chanel McKinley,
Yes.
and Jim C.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to the resolution itself with the amendment in place. Roll call vote on that also.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Hannah Bassinet,
Yes.
Millie Schoonover,
Yes.
Michael Campnich,
Yes.
Chanel McKinley,
Yes.
Jim C.
Yes.
Thank you.
Resolution passed. Now I'm all confused.
Next resolution.
Yeah, I know.
Move to adopt resolution 21-19.
Second.
Here we go, great. I'll get caught up someday. Setting fees for senior citizen tax exemption. Anybody want to discuss this at any time?
Looks great.
This is a 1-year
It's a
thing,
good amount.
correct, John? A 1-year fee?
This would be the fee for the life of the card, which is 3 years.
Oh, is it 3-year card? Okay.
But there's no step down cost to the card, because in year 3, you still pay $25.
Okay.
And should it say October 8th for the date it goes into instead of September 8th? Are we backdating it?
No, I don't intend to backdate it. It should be October 8th.
Yeah.
Any more discussion on this? Seeing none, is that a roll call?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Hannah Bassinet,
Yes.
Millie Schoonover, Michael Campnich,
Yes.
Chanel McKinley,
Yes.
Jim C.
Yes.
Thank you, motion passed.
Thank you. Moving on to unfinished business, the appointment of city administrator recruitment committee. Is that pretty clear? Well, I stated that.
Essentially, you took that action during the meeting, Mr. Mayor. The council does have an code authority to reject one or more of the nominations, and this would be the time to do that if the council feels that way.
Council?
I think it's a good committee.
Chanel?
Looks great.
Thank you.
Your picks are amazing.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, I guess we'll stick with that committee then. New business, review draft maps of the Alaska redistricting board.
Mayor, this is a once every 10-year exercise. It's the judgment and policy call for sure for the council to decide in which of the proposed districts, the maps of which are included in the packet, Craig and, in our view, Prince of Wales would be better off. This is a complicated issue. The maps that are attached to the memo in the packet doesn't necessarily mean that one of those is going to get adopted by the redistricting board. Something very close to one of them probably will be, and even if they adopt something identical to what's in the packet, there's no assurance that the courts are going to uphold it when it's litigated, which inevitably it will be, because everyone in the past 40 years has been litigated. But there is an opportunity now for public comment on which of the 6 plans the council has a preference for, if any. The comment deadline is November 10th, approximately, at which point the redistricting board is statutorily and essentially constitutionally mandated to settle on a plan. There are pros and cons to most of the maps. The council doesn't have to come up with comments tonight, but it should at least start the discussion. We can always continue this to the next meeting. The council should at least start the discussion. Let me know if there's something you want us to do as staff, if there's additional information needed, or if you want us to start drafting comments we review at the next meeting.
This is rather interesting, because one of those maps actually splits Prince of Wales, which would give us 2 representatives in the House representing Prince of Wales Island. the northern portion and then the southern portion. Kind of interesting. There's two of those that I kind of like, but
Yeah, but
I'm
then,
still-
then again, the bottom half is part of Ketchikan, so you're gonna do what all the Ketchikans wants.
yeah, part of Ketchikan. And we gotta watch who we have. Right now, we have Sitka, and I wouldn't want to trade them for Ketchikan at this point, but that's why I believe we really need to study that, and then everybody come to some kind of consensus that we'll submit an opinion as a council. And we can do that by next meeting, right now.
Having the city's got until, like I said, around the 10th of November to comment, but the sooner the better, probably.
Yeah, actually. So, what do you guys think? Would you like to look at this a little longer? Because it's something that you gotta really think about it. Who you wanna have as your representatives and where they're gonna be. And how much power you're gonna give Juneau if they throw up two representatives side by side up there on one of those maps that shows Juneau people would have two representatives. Which is kind of scary. $34Q and 34 or 33Q would be Juneau, and Upper Juneau would have, that would give Juneau two representatives in essence. Anyway, I think we need to look at this and study it pretty good. Some of you may feel we're ready to make a decision tonight.
I'm all right with pushing it till next meeting, so that we can do some more investigating.
I believe so too.
That works for me.
We'll just move that to next meeting then, John.
Okay.
This gets pretty complicated. We were looking at it today earlier. Yeah, discuss relocation of the North Cove machine shop equipment. That is in the old Dimmer house, right? On North Cove there. I love that equipment. Would the school be interested in putting that up, or do they want to put it down here in the harbor thing, or do we know?
Nothing is certain at this point. Still kind of early on in the process. Michael and I have been spending a little time kind of getting this piece together so we had something to present to the council that was kind of summarized where we are at this point. Michael, do you have anything to add?
You know, it's a really important part of our history. I mean, there's a number of boats that were built there in the harbor. A couple of them are still around. The LTE and the Justin and Deanna were built there. You know, I'm not intimately familiar with how much of that happened through that shop, but I'm certain some of it did. Some of the machinings for sure. I've been aware of this equipment for a long time. I'd seen it many years ago. And I just happened to ask Larry about it this summer when I seen him, and I asked him, what are you gonna, you know, what's your long-term vision of that? And he said, we're actually are interested in, we would give it away if somebody wants to work with us on it. So, you know, I know there's been a lot of discussion, a lot of interest in our history here recently, and I have a fascination with this kind of equipment myself. I think it's kind of cool, and it's in amazingly good condition.
I see that.
I mean,
it's working condition, actually.
I've showed these pictures to a couple of different machinists, and they've said with a little bit of cleaning up, that stuff is functional.
Okay.
I've done a little bit of checking around. I called the Alaska Historical Society and see what their thoughts on it and their interest might be as a way to preserve it. And what they told me, I talked to a lady, I can't remember her name right now, but I talked to a lady there. she said there's actually a lot of this kind of stuff around in other canneries and old mining facilities. It's all very remote usually, and as this equipment is, it's also very big and very heavy, and it's hard to move. And they said as much as we appreciate that stuff and like it, there's just nothing we can do. I'm thinking, and there's no guarantee on this, but if it could be acquired and saved in a secure location, the hope would be that at some point in the future, we're talking about the history and doing some kind of historical thing down at the cannery area, we might be able to utilize at least some of this equipment as display. The drill presses are, you could dust them off and clean them up with a little bit of oil, and they're beautiful. They're really amazing pieces of equipment. I looked
You have
at
them in the web loft with a working piece of equipment also when needed. That's a possibility.
Checking out a new drive system would be interesting.
You'd have to put a electric motor on them or something, but they are functional.
What was their original drive system?
It's all belt and pulley.
Yeah, I know, but.
Oh, it was a hit and miss an engine.
Oh, okay, one longer.
Or one longer, yeah. The engine is not there.
Probably no Fairbanks motor, somebody threw it.
I'm not sure what kind of engine it was. It was there like 25 years ago when I first seen it. And another family member, I guess there's kind of a collection of people that had some interest in it, and somebody else has the engine. Larry has told me who has it, and there's a possibility that it could be reacquired. I have not inquired about it. I first am just seeing if there's an interest in the community to basically work with the Demert family. The house will go away, and if we're interested, we would have to partner with them on that, and we would acquire the equipment.
I know people in California that rebuild those one longer engines like that. In the Carter County down there, they rebuilt hundreds of them and have for display down there at the farm equipment shows and that, but they all work. And they work good, so.
I remember as a child, I look around the room and I'm the only one in this room that was here when that was in operation. But as a kid, my dad was a commercial fisherman and he had his trawler moored down there. And my two brothers and I, our job was to always go pump the boat, and we'd walk by there and Bill Demert would be working, and the three of us would stand there and we were just in awe. We had no clue what he was doing, but just the noises that it made in there fascinated us. And Bill would come out and he said, "Do you kids want something?" And Bill was a big man, was a little child and a big man. You go, "No, we're going to pop Dad's boat out." But yeah.
Well, it's then throw rocks at it. Right now.
So we would have to find a big building and stuff to move it, and so there's a bunch of things we have to do before we can really think about that, so.
And that's what I'm basically asking, do we want to consider it and pursue it? We'd have to, come to an agreement with the Demert family on who's responsible, what percentages, things like that. And then figure out, how to contract for cleaning it up and moving the equipment. And it is gonna cost a little bit. I did ask one of the local contractors, just a ballpark figure without holding him to anything, and he said $25,000 probably to take the house down and move the equipment.
Oh, the whole thing.
I think there'd be a huge interest in keeping it home.
The equipment.
Yeah. Okay.
Plus the house could go to the burn pit, because there's no hazmat in that house.
Right, that's what I think, is that I would simply go to the burn pit and get a dump truck.
Mm-hmm.
There's gonna be a lot of work if we pursued this. When the Army Corps people were here, there was one of the ladies has actually worked on projects similar to this, where they've saved old equipment in these old facilities. And she went down and looked at it with us, and I had already kind of developed a scenario in my mind. We would take many more pictures I envision a diagram, a schematic of how it's set up, and then everything would be tagged with a log that corresponds with the schematic. In theory, if you needed to or you wanted to, you could put the whole thing system back together.
Yeah. You have to, because you gotta find anybody who knows how to put it all back together anymore.
Actually, there is societies that do this. I looked it up. There is people who do this.
Oh, I bet there is. But like I said, those Fairbanks Morse motors,
Yeah.
those one lung motors, I know there's a lot of guys rebuild them down there. My old ag teacher did, he had 10 of them to rebuild. They just go for chunk.
Seen numbers of them running. Anyways, that's what I'm suggesting is that, not suggesting, I'm asking, is there an interest in further dialogue? Because there's nothing in agreement right now. It's just, we want to pursue this and see if we can come to an agreement. Is it something that we're interested in?
I think it can't hurt looking into it and trying to come up with an agreement.
Yeah. Or take a look at it, see what it takes to move it and see what Larry and those guys want to do with it. So, what their expectations are.
I mean, there, even if we weren't interested, that family would have to pay to have the house removed anyway. And if we can come up with an agreement where they pay for part of it and we do our in-kind, I think it would be a win-win situation. And it's a big piece of the history of Craig.
It is. That kind of stuff's hard to find anymore. Okay. We want to look into this, we need to vote on that or anything, or just.
No, the microactions continue to work on it.
Okay. Consideration of supplemental appropriations for staff training.
Move to appropriate $1,750 to water account 22-5420 and $1,750 to wastewater account 21-5420.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to appropriate for the funds for the staff training that were requested. Any more discussion on that? I had a question for you on that, Russell, real quick.
Yeah.
If this class takes place, is any co-op or anybody else gonna send people to this?
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be available island-wide.
Yeah.
Plus, there's a few operators from Nepacala that will be
Coming that, Sitka.
Correct, yes.
I'd contact all the surrounding communities and see if they want to get involved with this, because wastewater management is something that involves everybody.
Most of those operators keep in touch with ARWA. ARWA is putting a bulletin out.
No good.
It should be out in the next week or two. We're finishing up the details on the water class, but the wastewater class is set in stone. We're good.
Heidelberg has their people too that do this too, don't they?
Yep.
So they'll be coming that way soon.
And we have actually reached out to Thorn Bay and Co-op at this point. I think our intent is to reach out to the other communities as well, but they are well contacted by ARWA as well through that bulletin.
Yeah, because the fire department recently sent 5 people to the Haswalker training up there, and the rest of the island also sent people in there. Heidelberg, Powak, and several others showed up, which makes it economically feasible for everybody by more attending to better price, and it utilizes that center up there for what it's for, GoTech, which we encourage.
Yes, and that's what we have rented is the large classroom, which will accommodate, I think, 25, 30 students.
Yeah, quite a few.
So that we anticipate hopefully a good turnout.
Good. Okay. So do we need to vote on that, John, or is it just a general direction?
No, vote. Same motion.
Okay.
Yeah, there is a
Actually, there
motion.
was a motion.
Yeah, there was a motion. Sorry. Anyway, instead of voice note, everybody,
It's a voice vote.
yeah, all in favor of this?
Aye.
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 Beautiful.
Opposed? Hearing none, we'll appropriate that.
Motion passed, thank you.
Consideration for appropriation of Port St. Nick Road storm response.
I guess this is, there were some additional costs that were involved to prepare for the storm last weekend. We had to rent the T10. We bought some additional delineators, some safety barricades, and sandbags, about 100 sandbags. That, what we're needing is $5,380. What we're asking total for that appropriation.
Okay. I assume that's gonna be added to the bill for the St. Nick maintenance issues.
For the portion that's outside the city limits, yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I'm getting at.
Does that give me a motion?
Yes, please.
So do we got a motion to approve this spending money?
I move to approve $5,380 consideration appropriation for the preparation that was done for the storm last week.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the funds for the St. Nick Road slide prevention maintenance task. There you go.
Thank you.
All in favor of that?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none.
Thank you.
Council comments? Yes, sir.
One more thing. So the Forest Service has right now, this is all part of the New Tongass plan, and they have a $25 million economic development fund that they want to utilize to initiate or support existing, initiate new or supporting existing economic activities within the Tongass. And I talked to John about this. We've continued to support and encourage the idea of developing and initiating young growth as part of our timber base here. And I would like to propose that we just ask John to write a letter to our delegation and to the Forest Service in support of using some of this funding towards equipment, research, and outreach to further development of a young growth industry. And that falls right in line with the resolutions that we've already passed in the last year and a half.
And this would fit right in. Would that funding be able to help fund the University of Alaska's feasibility study that I requested them and the state forester to look into?
I can't answer whether this could or not, but I said meeting and outreach.
Project.
So I was thinking of that. So, and John can word it to fit that a little bit clearer or cleaner, but that's what I had in mind, is possibly doing something like that.
Because I could contact that chancellor and let her know that we could actually maybe get some of that Forest Service funding to fund her group for the feasibility study.
She probably already knows about it.
I'm sure she does, but
A letter of support would be good, though.
a letter of support would goad her into a little more action, hopefully.
So,
Around the state forester. In both of them. I wonder if we should include see Alaska and all those guys in a letter like, and the corporations, because all the corporations have second growth timber coming.
Yeah,
So everybody's got
I think that would be a good
a
idea.
dog in this fight.
Yeah, absolutely.
If we get foresters to do anything. Mike. Yeah, I think it would be a good idea.
Okay.
Definitely promote that as much as we can, because the next 20 years, they're gonna take them 10 years to build a take them another 5 to get going, so basically we're setting this up for the future by doing this. Any more on that?
I have a different one. In reading the Island Post, I think that people are at Mike here because the Island Post said we were gonna have them on the agenda. And is that why you guys are sitting here?
Oh.
You're not here for pause? Oh, okay, then we'll disregard that one. 'Cause the Island Post, the letter from those people said we were gonna have them on the agenda, so that's where I thought they were sitting here this whole time for, and I was going on before people have sat through this entire thing.
But I contacted the letter writer and let her know that it was gonna be put off until Julie got back.
Okay. Okay, sorry, I thought maybe they were sitting here for that, though, it was like, oh, man.
No, she voiced an interest in the election today, so I kinda knew why she was here.
Okay.
No, not yet.
I didn't.
And I'm glad she is, because that's the way we learn.
Just felt bad, I just wondered if she came next time, we would get her on the first of the agenda, so she didn't have to sit here the whole time.
Anyway, we had enough of this for tonight, or what?
Yes.
I'm ready to keep going.
No, he's
So
not.
is Tracy, right?
Move to adjourn?
Second.
Motion's been made to adjourn and seconded.
Okay, who seconded that?
All in favor?
Everybody seconded it. Hannah?